family. Help you out. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How we thank God for those of you who are here. We're coming praying, as Mama said, about the first institution that God established. Social education and political leaders often blame problems with the nation's children on the family. Parents, in turn, blame society. Parents are responsible for their children's behavior, but the influence of parents is limited today. Our self-imposed privacy hinders growth. Once people learn that their struggles are not unique, they gain the courage to expose their problems and start the healing process. Family is important. You say it's consequential, you say it's major, it's meaningful, it's momentous, it's significant, it's important, people. We easily recognize that husband, father, mother, and daughter family. But guys, today, it's not so clear-cut. Diversity is in. And the church has got to deal with that. The church has got to deal with the whole person. Understand what I'm saying about diversity, right? That's my husband. We have empty nesters. We have singles. We have single head of household. We have blended. We have extended. And neither one of those is what you call the nuclear 2+2 family. The single person may appear to be occupied with work and traveling and vacationing and having all the good time in the world, but a lot of times singles feel like misfits in the church. Because when we start talking about family, and we just think y'all are loaded up, but they're at a different place with different challenges. What about the divorced people? No, they don't have children playing. They may not have grandchildren coming over for babysitting. But you know what? It depends on where that person is. Their life has been torn apart. And we don't know where they are in their healing process. So guess what? Family matters to them. They may not have day-to-day family matters, but I promise you every day, family matters to them. When we come to grips that family is important to everybody, sometimes it's enjoyable, sometimes it's hurtful, yet, let's be honest. But family plays a role in our lives, whether we are aware of it or not. It is notable by its presence or by its absence. Family is the most profound of all influences on who we are and what we do. The families to which we are born in and those in which we live in shape us as adults from birth to death. Whether we admit it or not, they are immediate cause of our best times and worst times. Family issues are moral and spiritual. As goes the family, we say it, but it's true. So goes society as a whole. Family matters. Today, to address this issue, we're going to do this in two parts. We're going to have a forum. We'll have some of the experts who can bring to the forefront. And guys, let's be open. And this is not just a thing where they're going to lecture. They're going to bring forth something. You can pop your hand up. If you want to make a statement, ask a question, we have got to start openly discussing what, and you can say, well, you don't know this person, you don't have to say issue. But we've got to address issues beforehand so we can prevent And if we've got them, so that we can heal.
Amen.
And it starts with our being open. Okay? So, we have, I'm going to kill your first name. Sanborn Sear. All right. She is an attorney and accountant. If you come up, please. We have Carla Burgess, court-appointed special advocate, juvenile services. Y'all got some questions for her? We wanna know why they not doing it from our drone? Ask her now before you get there. We also have some of our own, Sister Joanne Rock. She's representing starting all over again. Children grown, and now she got a house full of little babies.
Yes, she does.
How full of them? This is real, y'all. Shirley Wilson, our carefree single person. Mona Bowman, single head of household raising 3 boys. Tiara and Mary Clark, mother and daughter. They are generational in that there are 3 generations. I told Mary she's filling several of my roles. Not only is she got generational, but she's also caught in what the boomers are calling dealing with children and parents. That's a real thing, guys, and if you don't address it, it can take over. So we're going to let them start, and they're going to talk to us about what's going on. If you have any questions, and Pam, you're all okay with this, right? That if they have questions or if you're coming, they can raise hands, because I'm sure you're here to help. And the reason why I'm so thankful for our 2 special guests, because oftentimes people, well, you know, I heard that when you went down there, and I heard this is what happens. These are people who are dealing with this on a daily basis. We can get some straight talk. Pam, whoever's so happy with us. Thank you. You can start, sweetie. Yeah.
Good afternoon. As she said, my name is Sanborn Sear. I'm a local attorney here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Been licensed since 2008. Have had several jobs in this profession, but since 2011 I've been a sole practitioner. And right now my focus is more so on custody cases and child in need of care cases, which is child abuse and neglect cases that we tend to think are CPS type cases. I represent the children in those matters. I was asked to speak today by Mrs. Jones, and I guess I'll just start off and just give some basic things about child custody that I think a lot of people don't know. One thing in particular that I encounter day to day, I find that a lot of parents do not know the differences in the types of custody. And because we don't know, we are not able to protect our children maybe the way we should and give them the proper schedule that they need to have. All children don't need to be with both parents at the same time. So one main thing that is a reoccurring issue for a lot of my clients that do not know is the difference between shared custody, sole custody, and joint custody. In the custody arena, custody is basically between the parents, a father and a mother, and you are presumed to be the legal guardians, the tutors of your children. There are times, however, when parents aren't able to do what they need to do. Then you can have grandparents, family members step in, but first and foremost, the biological parents have the right to decide who cares for their children. When 2 people are no longer together, as we kind of talked today, you divorce, single parents, you split up, whatever the case may be, you may want to decide to raise your children together in a joint custody type of setting. Joint custody is when both parents have the control of the child, where they can make decisions about the child, education, financial, medical, and they're supposed to communicate and make these decisions. But one parent is considered the domicile parent. This domiciliary parent has the right to make any emergency decisions that need to be made with the child, especially if you're not able to reach the other parent. The domiciliary parent is usually the parent that gets to sign all the school paperwork, and it's kind of up to that parent to give agencies, medical providers, teachers, counselors, what have you, the other parent's information so it can maintain a joint process. This is a direct contrast to sole custody. Sole custody is when it is all with one parent, that one parent has the right to make all decisions, and they don't really have to consult the other parent. The other parent has visitation, if that, meaning you have set times and dates that you visit your child or children. Again, contrast that with joint, because joint, although the other parent has a visitation schedule, is more flexible, and you definitely could hold the other parent in contempt if they don't allow you that equal access with your child. Another avenue that parents can go through is called shared custody. Shared custody falls under the umbrella of joint custody. So it's a type of joint custody. But shared custody is when you have your child equal. Some parents do 7 days with one, 7 days with the other. 6 months with one, 6 months to the other. I've known parents to do all with one parent, and then the other parent get all holidays and summers, so that you can calculate the days and it's exactly equal. With shared custody, usually both parents will carry the child on their taxes. Neither parent will pay child support because it's presumed that the child is getting equal things in each home. And so I brought that up because that's what I find that most of my clients are seeking custody agreements, and they want shared, but shared isn't always feasible. It's not always feasible to have a child maybe in one home for an extended duration and then put the child in another home. That can cause issues with the child. Some children, like teenagers though, that may work for them. Monday through Sunday at mama house, Sunday through other Monday at dad's house. But small children, you kind of want to keep them maybe in one household, predominantly a lot of the time to get that routine and get that structure, and then maybe the other parent can have them on the weekends. All of these things can be achieved by filing petitions with the court. You also have the option to do voluntary custody agreements. Parents can do that if you don't want the court involved. But if the other parent does not do what they say they're going to do, there is no legal ramification or penalty unless you have a court involved. As a lawyer, I advocate people to go through the court system, but as a single mother, if you can find another way, and you don't have to go through the court system, I would recommend that as well. Once the court system is involved in your case, if you and the other parent don't have that good relationship, things can be nitpicked, and you'll find yourself in court every month defending why you didn't answer a phone call. So definitely, if you do go to court, you want to get as specific as you can, so that everything can kind of be in your favor. You want to avoid custody battles, especially bringing the children in to testify. Children can testify. Most judges, a child that is 15, I would say 13 on up, they wouldn't question it. You want to let that child be a witness, they'll let that child be a witness. But a lot of judges don't like that. And even though the child may have all the valid information, a judge may look at the parents a certain way, because custody cases can be traumatic. And so to put anybody on the stand for a custody case can have a lifelong effect, especially hearing the types of things, why your parents are fighting for custody. So I always recommend that if the parents are able to talk, you sit down and you ask the child what they want. And you make an honest decision on who can best provide for the child. Put the things aside, because that's what a judge is going to do. They're going to look through the 12 factors. You have 12 factors for a child's best interest, and these are found in the Civil Code, Louisiana Civil Code, I believe, starting with Article 131. This will give you all the definitions for custody. It will tell you all the factors, even with relocating a child. A lot of people don't know that. You cannot move a child more than 60 miles, and it may have gone up to 100 without consulting the other parent if you have gotten a court involved. So those are the things that you have to consider. You may get a job in Dallas. For example, I had a client, she got a job in Dallas, she got accepted to the Art Institute, and her son is 5. And although the dad has been absent and not as hands-on as she wanted, when she filed her paperwork to relocate, he challenged it. So because he's challenging, some courts will look at it like, well, we have a lot of cases where fathers are absent, or mothers are negligent. When you got one parent that's fighting for it, they tend to deny the relocation and say you need to stay here because the child needs the benefits of both parents at any given time that they need it. So those are all things that you have to consider when you do a joint custody claim. I'll say this and then I'll sit down and let someone else talk. The other thing, when you think about custody-wise, you want to also look down the road in the event that you pass. So when you figure out your custody for your child and those arrangements, now you can't will a child away to anyone. You can't say when I die, Sam don't watch my kids. You can't do that. But you can do a will, and you can make preparations, and you can say, in the event that I pass, I would like the court to consider this person, especially if you and the other parent don't get along. You want to make sure you put those things in writing and give them to people you trust, because if that other parent can't parent now while you're alive, they're not going to parent when you're
That's right.
Giving glory to God. I'm Carla Burgos. I'm a children's advocate. I advocate in Cattle Parish, occasionally in Bossier Parish. I'd like to thank my colleague Melinda Jones for inviting me today. What I find most interesting about family, as we mentioned, family is the first institution that God created. And also, He gave us the Bible as a guide for us to be able to rear our children up and our family in the way that they should go. And what I like most about our Constitution is our Constitution is based upon principles from the Bible. Unfortunately, those principles are changing. And so as a society, we're moving away from God-based principles to more of man-based principles. What man would have us to do rather than what God has told us to do. One of my things that I'm very adamant about is that I'm going to look out for oppressed people. That includes children, widows, and people who live in poverty or who may not have things. So I'm a children's advocate, but I'm an advocate for all of us who are oppressed or we are in need of help. So I want to talk to you about my journey through advocacy. And that will give you a picture of who I am and what I'm about. I'm a former educator, and I was working with children, at-risk youth, in special education. And I began to notice that these children would come to school and they were hungry, or they were dirty, and they didn't have the things that they needed. I was raising 4 children of my own. So a lot of the kids would just cling on to me and call me mother, and I would say, well, I'm not your mom. I'm here to make sure that you learn. A colleague of mine pulled me aside and said, don't do that to them. They look to you as a mother. They may not have that at home, and when you tell them that, you push them away. So that was my first experience of saying, I got to open up, and I got to mother to all these kids. And if you're a mother, or if you've been around kids, it's draining. It's very draining. You pull here and there. During that time when I was working with those children, I learned about foster care, and I learned about the CASA program. And I said, well, God, this is something I would like to do. This is really great, that I can get into a home where children have been abused or neglected, and I can help them on this path. But when I looked into CASA, they only took volunteers. And so, of course, I was not going to leave my job raising 4 children, helping Mr. Burgos to go volunteer to do something. So I just put it behind me and I continued. So I did earn a degree in sociology, and I decided, well, let me go do something with this. And so I was blessed to have an opportunity to be the educational coordinator for a big program here in Newport. And as I'm working with children, I encounter some of my former students, and I'm just seeing a lot of the issues that children face, not just males or females, but collectively and their families. So at the end of that time frame, I'm getting ready to calculate my numbers for the year. And anytime you're calculating, you want to see how effective your program is, you pull out those old files and you see, well, who did we service last year and who did we service the year before? And as I'm looking through these records, I noticed that we've had the same family and the same children for 10 years. How is that possible? So, you know, I have a problem with that. Because that's called poverty pimping. You hold on to the same people and keep your numbers going. And you're servicing, after 10 years, families ought to be liberated. When I brought this to the attention of my organization, they had a problem. I was asked to resign or be terminated. Because no one wants to operate in the light. It's difficult to get people to operate in the light. So I always liked another program here in the area. And I said, well, you know, Lord, this is something I want to do. I was granted the opportunity to do that, where I worked as a director to train and educate children in vocational and educational training. I was responsible for 2 phases of that program. And I worked. And I really sold these children this dream. And when they started to come to this program, some of them were students I'd had before, some of them were from all over the city. My recruitment was from the northern Louisiana parish to Arkansas to the Texas state line. And we'd get these kids in there and we'd sell them a dream. Some of these kids did not have the skills to pass a GED test, to earn a high school diploma. They may could do some of the vocational trades with their hands because some of our kids are really good at building and welding and things like that. And I've noticed again that we're using these children. As soon as we get the points we need to earn the money, we just say, I don't care what happens to you. So again, I had a huge problem with that. I'm an advocate. So we need to find things that are going to work for these kids. So I left there and I went and I became a drug counselor.